Any security system effectively has to ask the question, who goes there, in order to get the job done. Even when your messages travel to the far ends of the internet, the receiving party needs some way to verify who really sent the message. Usernames and passwords are fairly easily intercepted and spoofed. There needs to be stronger ways to verify that a message is what it claims to be and that the sender is authentic. In this lesson, we will learn about two of these technologies. First, let's examine digital signatures and digital certificates. Some cryptographic systems are meant to keep their secrets. Other crypto systems do not hide information. Rather, they prove the information has not been altered. These crypto systems for messaging integrity are called hashing algorithms. Hashing algorithms provide the basis for digital signatures, which in turn are needed for digital certificates, which I will further explain later in this session. So to investigate how digital signatures and digital certificates work, we first need to understand hashing algorithms. The hash of a message is the equivalent of that message's digital fingerprint. The idea is to take a long, complex message and reduce that message to a shorter, yet still distinctive, mathematical digest. Mathematical functions useful for hashing algorithms need certain properties to do their jobs. First of all, they need to be one-way. That is, it should be very difficult to work backwards from the hash function's output to discover what the original input was. In other words, you can take a message and generate a unique hash, but you cannot take the hash and produce the message. Secondly, hashing algorithms should generate very different results based on even the tiniest change in inputs. If even one bit of a message is altered in transit, the digest of this message should signal this change on the receiving end by appearing very different from the digest of the original message. Finally, hashing algorithms should be non-collisional. In technical terms, when hashing algorithms process different messages but get the same digest number for each of the two messages, this is called a collision. As an example, let's suppose the play Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, goes through a hashing algorithm and is reduced to a digest number. Sorry about that, literature fans. Then suppose Death of a Salesman goes through the same algorithm and generates the exact same digest number. That's a collision. Collisions obviously would cause problems for any crypto system involving hashes. However, because there are infinitely many possible messages and only so many digest numbers to go around, at some point collisions will inevitably occur. However, a good hashing algorithm will postpone this inevitability as long as possible and, as a practical matter, avoid collisions. Hashes are useful for many purposes. For example, internet downloads are notorious for coming with malware attached. One way to demonstrate the integrity of an internet download is to calculate the digest number of the file on each end of the transmission. The file storing server advertises a digest number next to the link for the file download. The server also advertises which of the many common hashing algorithms was used to generate that digest. Then, after the file is fully downloaded, the recipient uses the same algorithm to recompute the digest locally. If the local digest matches the server's advertised digest, then with a high degree of certainty, that file was not altered in transit. Of course, if the whole file was malware to begin with, a Trojan basically, this technique won't help very much. But hashing verification will at least keep viruses and any other third-party code modifications from infecting the file unannounced. Remember the fax machine? Remember snail mail? That was how signatures used to travel over distances in the analog world. Some of us are old enough to remember those days. In today's world of everything over the internet, very few sign documents these days with ink. Instead, digital signatures are the common form of signatures. Digital signatures combine hashing algorithms with public key cryptography to create sufficient proof that a message did not get altered in transit and that the sender is who they claim to be. By sufficient proof, we mean good enough for a court of law. Since the 1990s, Digital signatures have been considered legally binding in the United States and many other parts of the world. Let's walk through the generation of a digital signature step by step. First, we begin with a plain text. This could be an email, a contract, or any other message. Then, apply a well-known hashing algorithm to create a message digest. Notice that the plain text is still in the clear. We have just added a message digest to the end of the message. Now comes the time to prove who is sending the message. Generate a public and private key pair. Take the private key, remembering to keep this private key very secret and very safe, and use it to sign both the message plaintext and the attached message digest with the private key. Both the message and the message digest are now hidden from view. Send the privately encrypted message and signature to the receiving party along with a public key to decrypt the message. When the message recipient decrypts the message, the plaintext of the message will be revealed, as will the original message digest. To verify that the message is unchanged in transit, the recipient also recomputes the message digest locally, using the same hashing algorithm that was originally employed. If the local digest matches the transmitted digest, then the message must be the same as the original. You may be wondering, what if Evil Eve the eavesdropper is lurking in the middle of the network and steals both the message and the public key in transit? Can't Eve decrypt everything, change the message and the digest, and then send the altered message out with her public key instead of the original? The short answer is yes, a crafty Eve may be able to pull this caper off. The weak link in the basic Alice to Bob public key crypto system is the question of how does Bob really know that it's Alice on the other end of the line? To increase confidence and trust in this kind of public key cryptography, a more elaborate system called Public Key Infrastructure, or PKI for short, has been developed. PKI is notoriously complex, more than we can handle in this small lesson, but we can just highlight a few of the main elements of PKI. Among other things, PKI relies heavily on digital certificates. A digital certificate is designed to be verifiable proof of internet identity. Digital certificates follow a third-party verification model of trust. Alice may not trust Bob, and Bob may not trust Alice, but if Charlie, the certificate authority, is trusted by both Alice and Bob, then Charlie can broker a trusted communication link between Alice and Bob. In a nutshell, that's how PKI is supposed to work. There are supposed to be a handful of highly respected certificate authorities that verify the identity of applicants for a digital certificate. Also, these respected authorities, called the issuers of root certificates, are supposed to be able to delegate their trust to other more regional certificate authorities. So if Charlie, the root certificate authority, delegates trust to Dan, the delegate authority, Alice and Bob can trust Dan to verify their proof of identity. Security researchers have pointed out time and again the many problems with PKI. One of the objections is that web surfers and web browsers pretty much trust any certificate that comes along. Also, not all certificate authorities are created equal. There are top-level root certificate authorities based in countries and locations around the world that otherwise can't be trusted. Certificates have expiration dates, and when they expire, they are not supposed to be trusted anymore. Likewise, certificates that have been compromised are supposed to be revoked and not accepted any longer as proof of identity. Both of these features are widely ignored, so expired and revoked certificates are being accepted all the time. Moreover, anyone can generate a digital certificate privately with no certificate authority. Companies do this all the time. Given a choice between not opening your office email because the certificate is expired or self-signed, would you accept the certificate, or in the name of certificate security, would you let your business email pile up on a server somewhere? Most people opt to accept the certificate and get on with the email. This increases the risk of identity theft and other attacks, but in general, if the costs of a security system like PKI outweigh the perceived benefits, users and businesses will find a way to work around the system. In spite of its many imperfections, PKI is showing no signs of going away. Digital certificates continue to be widely used to validate identity for e-commerce transactions. Digital certificates are also used to set up secure network tunnels or to authenticate to servers for remote access. Indeed, given the growing trend toward an Internet of Things, PKI is starting to show up in places its designers never imagined. Take the smart electrical grid, for example. Intelligent electrical meters that monitor power use by time of day and other factors need intelligent signaling for billing and other purposes. Where there is billing, there is also an incentive for hacking. When a message comes over the smart grid wire saying no power used in January, how can the power company verify the identity of the message sender? Given current options, PKI is one candidate technology for that verification role. Digital certificates are one example of a security technology that mostly just seems to get in the way. So people ignore them, work around them, or otherwise do things that defeat the original security purpose. Another such technology is the firewall. Firewalls are really a very essential element of any network security design. However, where there is a wall, there are those who prefer to drill holes. In our next lesson, we'll take a closer look at the strengths and weaknesses of firewalls.